Okay, welcome back to part two of my older adult Miss Queen. So we're going to start off by talking about her challenges with the adolescence stage. So one of the challenges was be a leader and follower. One of the articles that I researched was leadership begins at home. Over parenting is negatively impacting a child to be a follower. Um, Remember when I talked about in in part one, where her mother was very overprotective of her sisters. Um, so her sister couldn't grow because she was there. However, with the opposite of that, Miss Queen didn't have that overprotectiveness, but she also didn't have the right supervision at all. So she did a lot. It wasn't until after she gave birth of her first son that she realized that she needed to get things together. Same teenage risky behaviors and parental supervision. For example, school because they flunked high school. So they wanted to get things done until after they did go at night, leaving them home alone during the day. They used to have company. The older sister actually got pregnant at the age of the beginning of 18. Her mother was upset, but she realized that it was kind of her fault because she trusted them so much to the point to where she thought that they knew better and instilled um, leadership in their child. But as parents, we don't know what our kids are thinking, especially when we don't have proper leadership or proper supervision with our children. Um, One of the challenges, and we laughed about this because we all um, try not to get in trouble with our parents. So Miss Queen would have company when she would cut school and be home with her older brothers and sisters, and they will run around and try to bring the kids, that don't belong there through the back door. They knew what time their neighbors would come out to get the paper, so they was very resourceful in making things happen at that age. Uh, I talked about the overprotective mother. She kind of wished that her mother was overprotective with her. Then she would have felt like her mom cared about her, and maybe she wouldn't have been in the streets as much as she would have. Um, when to Part of the adolescent stage and the challenges was she got involved with a guy that was part of a gang, and the the game was called the Moon. Too much about them, but I just chuckled because a game rival is called the Moon. So let's talk about her accomplishments. So she graduated from high school. So we talked about the adolescents, 12 to 18, is struggling with their identity versus they in a lot of. In addition, they are developing a sense of right or wrong, which she understands now that smoking cigarettes and having sex and was definitely the wrong way. So we talked about the diversity. Queen did not have surprise due to her age and she's not experiencing any negative diversity. So let's talk about some strengths that she had by not experiencing diversity. She held the same information as her white counterparts. She lived on the same block as the Caucasians. She attended the same school as them. Her best friends was Caucasian, and she can read. Okay, so they all wanted to go to the same high school. They all had the same dreams. They all had the same passion, which was very interesting. So oppression, and I just knew that I was going to get a lot out of oppression of where she grew up at. However, she first learned about was great. She did not experience oppression at all, and allowing her to live life as a teenager, as a young adult, without witnessing or going through any diversity or. However, Queen was pressured to have sex at a young age. She wanted to fit in. Was becoming as a woman. As females, we go from playing with the boys to getting breasts, growing into our curves as people. So let's talk about Erikson theory. So during this stage, all of her friends, she said, was flat chested. She didn't really know the difference in culture. So she was upset because everyone else can wear the nice little tank tops and the two-piece bathing suits, and she had to wear a cover up and a whole one-piece bathing suit. So that still through the stage, she didn't want to acknowledge none of her body curves. She didn't thighs. Um, she was actually shameful of having all of these natural curves that she went out and she would buy sweatpants and big t-shirts and boots so they would cover try to, but as she say, it did not happen, and she's very curvy, and she just couldn't hide it as much as she tried to. So the additional theory that I wanted to indulge into was the interactionist perspective theory. Symbolic is what they call it. So the definition of it is to focus on how people or things interact or interpret things differently. So I'm going to give you an example. Queen and her friends wanted to be the popular girls, but they had all different views on what it meant to be popular. Um, for Queen, being popular meant that you get good grades. You you was a nerd, that you did sports, but you was a smart sports player. Um, and then she had friends that being popular meant that you go and have sex with um, multiple people, you smoke weed, you skip school, you just disobey everything that your mom says. You're almost like the bad girl, bad boy type mentality going on. And which I thought that was real interesting because we're still going through this in 2019. Okay, so let's talk about the limitations. Erickson theory limitations. So I got this from Good Therapy. A child does not. One of the limitation is he does not focus on a child moving from stage to stage, so to adulthood with commitment issues. So he does one stage at a time. You can actually move through the stage according to your age. This is more geared to males than females. It has been written that so he had three sons of his own, and his observation was only geared to his three sons. He didn't go outside of the realm to do the research for outsiders. He had no consideration for other cultures. So, for instance, we said that starting preschool at 2 or 3, some cultures find that a child should not start school until they're able to talk. just as well as potty train. Some people potty train their kids starting at the age of 8 months, 8 to 9 months, while others, like myself, wait until a child is good and ready to use the potty. Well, thank you, scholars, for putting up with my um, crazy machine. I hope that you learned something, and thank you for letting me share Queen's journey with you. Please feel free to comment below, and I look forward to reading and listening to all of your presentations. Have a good week.